Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Hello, hello. This is Joey J. Ping here, checking in live, respectmyregion.com. Today we have another California Cannabis Podcast featuring our good friend, Annie Starr Davis, SVP of Marketing, aka the Senior Vice President of Marketing at Jetty Extracts. Annie, how we living? How we doing?
I am doing great, Joey. I'm glad to be here with you. I feel like we cross paths like every 6 months, and there's, a generation of cannabis years have gone by. So excited to reconnect with you and chat about all things Jetty.
Yeah, it's been some time. I want to say, I don't think I saw you at Hall of Flowers Ventura, but I want to say it was either MJ Biz last or...
I think I know we talked about Dablicator. We talked about Dablicator.
Dablicator. It was at Hall of Flowers. You're right. It was at Hall of Flowers.
I was not at a Jetty booth. It was Dablicator.
That was Dablicator. You're right. Well, shout out Jetty. Shout out Dablicator. Shout out the fam. Shout out the tech. Shout out the hardware. Shout out the oil and your guys' commitment to doing clean cannabis-related activities in multiple states. Folks, this is a good episode today because if you guys have watched previous conversations, it's been with Aero Brands. And we did a couple content things last year. Annie has since moved on to an exciting brand. Nothing wrong with Aero over there. Just Annie is a mover and shaker, man. She's always helping brands grow. We're still fans of Aero. I recommend them. My mom's probably vaping that over in Texas right now because I always send her those. But today's convo, Jetty. Jetty has been one of the longest standing concentrate companies in California, Annie. You are with a legacy brand, one of these brands that's resilient, consistent, well-known and respected here in California. So that's why we had to throw you guys on the Cali Cannabis Show today. But today, Annie, we're going to talk about a couple other states. What states are we talking about, Annie?
Yeah, so Jetty is the top-selling solventless rosin brand in California, and that's where we were born, 2013. But in 2023, Jetty expanded out of California to Colorado, also New Jersey and New York. So at the moment, you can find Jetty products on a kind of coast-to-coast, but in 4 of the biggest cannabis markets. And we've been really choiceful about, brand expansion. And that focus has enabled Jetty. Actually, recently we just came in at the #1 solventless rosin vape brand in Colorado, which is pretty exciting given the maturity of that market and price compression and all that stuff. So yeah, we are very much committed to bringing clean cannabis to consumers throughout the country and hopefully throughout the world someday, but really focused on some of the largest and most mature markets in the industry.
Now, although you're not necessarily OG Jetty, right? And of course, we would love to talk to the old grower partners and maybe the people that do this and the guy, who created it. But Annie, we rock with you. You know what I'm saying? So
I appreciate that. But I will say that the founders are very much still involved with this company. And it's a family affair. 2 of our 3 founders, Rob and Nate Ferguson, are brothers. Nate is our chief product officer. He's still very, very embedded in our product development decisions. He's sourcing the strains for our rosin. He's having conversations, with our cultivation partner, Coastal Sun Farms. And then Rob is our chief strategy officer. These guys grew up in Buffalo. And so one of the things that Rob's been really focused on is the expansion of Jetty on the East Coast in New York and New Jersey. And I think the fact that the founders have continued from 2013 until today for the last 12 years to so integrated into the company has really been a huge contributor to Jetty's success and also helped us stay kept us authentic and kept us connected to the culture and not I think kind of selling out to corporate interests despite I think partnering with some larger companies in the industry. Jetty has really maintained this core commitment to the cannabis culture from which it was born, and really a desire to serve patients and get them the best medicine possible, even in Middle East markets.
I appreciate you bringing such clarity, but to be redundant, clear clarity there, because there was layers. I didn't know anything about the Jetty brand. It's not to say they haven't done the marketing or done the PR, but I can't think of, I know a lot about most brands. I've talked to a lot of people, but here in California, I feel like I haven't seen them over the years. Once the market got super saturated and difficult, it seems that people had different things. But one of the core commitments of Jetty is being community focused. And you guys have this wonderful program that you guys have created. You guys have been giving back for years. I remember when I was at Buddy's Brand 2019 through 2022. That's when I was really, really competing with Jetty in some ways in the vape category. And that's when I was most familiar. But even then, I didn't know that it was family. I didn't know that they were involved with it. And honestly, once I started seeing them expand and grow to other places through big partnerships, I assumed what you already broke down and destigmatized, which is they didn't sell out. They are still involved. These were just strategic partnerships to expand and scale and do these things, trial and error potentially in some ways, right?
Yeah, I mean, to that point, so you alluded to like our impact program. So the Shelter Project is Jetty's social impact program through which we donate free medicine to cancer patients and have given away over $1.2 million in the company's history of free product. But
Wow.
like Nate, who is our co-founder and chief product officer, is personally in communication with patients who are part of that program. So
Wow.
like he is so connected and in touch with our consumer base, with their needs. And it's really important to the company that even as we grow, and honestly, even when times are tough, that we continue to serve patients. And we have a strategic goal, like the back half of 2025, to determine how best to expand Shelter moving forward. Like, we are a cannabis consumer products company. We are not a nonprofit. We're not a foundation, but we want to best structure ourselves to be able to continue serving these patients. And so currently the Shelter Project kind of rolls up into my marketing team, but really merits, potentially its own program manager. So look forward to chatting about that, in the next 6 to 12 months as we work on expansion. We did just launch Shelter in New York in May and already have about a dozen patients in the program. And really excited about showing up in that market, with something to add to the community, not just to take from it. So come onto the market, be able to bring a quality product, but also be able to bring that commitment. And hopefully that helps with the entire reputation of the legal cannabis industry, in an emerging market like New York.
Yeah, the different markets have their own sets of community, their own sets of customers, their own products that they like already, right? There's already things been happening in New York, and that's been happening in these different states, right? And for you guys to get in there and already have something to build community and to be valuable and helpful to people, I think that's huge and something that deserves to be applauded for sure, and recognized at the very minimum, right?
Yeah.
And so tell me, how does a patient, how does somebody in need, how do they get involved? How do they become a part of it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. You can go to our website, and in our about section, jettyextracts.com, there is a landing page about the Shelter Project. And you can sign up. You have to basically in order to qualify for the program, the patient must have an active cancer diagnosis, like a valid ID in California, Colorado, New York, have a valid medical cannabis card, and then also kind of demonstrate a financial need for the program. And we've got a handful of dispensary partners across these 3 states. And so once you enter our program, you'll submit some information to us. You literally can even specify like what your preferred product is you would like to pick up from one of our dispensary partners. And then we will work to get that product like ready for you to pick up at one of these dispensary partners in the market. So it definitely is a program meant for people who do have some degree of financial need, but we are pretty generous with like who we consider. And so definitely encourage consumers to take a look at that. And another area of impact that we're really proud of is being the first OCal organic certified vape in California, through our partnership with Coastal Sun Farms and with OCal, which is the comparable to organic program.
Wow.
It is only currently exists in California, but it is our intention to create the purest, cleanest cannabis oil, regardless of market. And so that's something that, I think we also hope to bring to Colorado and New York, as well as California moving forward, is certifications and like third-party validation of the social environmental commitments that we have.
I think it's important to have that third party validation, because otherwise it just seems like the brand is saying, we do this, we do that, trust us, watch, look at me, look at us, versus like sharing the story and the information of why it's valuable, or working with a reputable third party who just does that already themselves, right?
Yeah, and to that point, I'm not sure how familiar you are. If you're how familiar you are, I used to work with Catalyst, Joey. So with Echo, Eco is a new organization, also in California, certifying non-solvent. Well, products can have solvents or non-solventless or solventless products, but Eco is certifying these companies as being free of Cat 4 pesticides.
Yep.
And is an increasing, there was a lot of attention drawn to this in the last couple of years. Kind of, do you know what's in your weed? And so we are trying to help shape these standards and be at the forefront also of educating consumers. So you'll see like this is a distillate product, a high potency all-in-one vape, and this one is Cat 4 Eco certified. And Beautiful. Then this is a package from our solventless all-in-one mini vape, and you'll see on here OCal, so you can see that validation as well.
Yeah,
I think that's something that is really important as we get out there, and I just wanted to mention on your show because we're trying to reach consumers, we're trying to educate and tell them what to look for and how you tell the difference between these products, and can't take the company's word for it, so you should take someone else's.
What's in your weed, folks? Something to really think about, right? These are great questions to be asking, and it's, and don't necessarily take it out on your butt tender, right? We can't expect people that make some realm of a range of minimum wages, no disrespect, some realm of minimum wages, because state by state is different, to do retail and expect them to know absolutely everything about all the brands all the time. It's a lot of info if they work at a store that's super busy, in and out, fresh, and it's a lot of micro moments. It's not like you get as a brand to spend hours and hours with these people all the time, right? And so it's a lot. And Jetty, you guys are a big brand, especially in California. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of retail partners over the years, probably thousands of variations across the point. So many different SKUs you guys have created. Right?
I was going to say, like, we're best known for vape. We're the top selling solventless rosin vape, and about the 3/4 of our volume is our vape business. But also something that is a high priority for me as someone who is a flower and pre-roll consumer myself is to also kind of draw attention with consumers that the same solventless rosin that we're best known for, in our vape, you also can find in like pre-rolls. So these are infused pre-rolls, and you'll see the OCal on these as well. Nice. Because the flower in them is also OCal certified.
Yeah.
And then we've also got, rosin, like concentrate. And same thing here, you can see the OCal on the rosin. So we have like an entire line of solventless products all the way through from pre-roll to vape to the rosin concentrates that all have these same attributes from like a cleanliness perspective, organic perspective.
Yeah.
And we're, we know that like a lot of consumers, you don't just do vape, you don't just have flower, you don't have rosin, you got a whole, whole portfolio. And again, just trying to get people to like ask what's in your weed, think about what's in your weed, what you're inhaling in your body, but honestly, like it also gives you like a cleaner, better, more fulfilling high. So when you think about, all this is well and good for the world and for the planet, but like, is it going to get me high and how's that going to feel? These types of cleanliness in the oil contributes to a much more robust consumer experience.
So for clarity, because I just smoked a fire joint. So, OCal, flower cert and vape cert, or just one?
Yeah, so OCal is a certification for flower, but also the process. So we don't cultivate our own flower. We partner with Coastal Sun Farms.
Right.
They have gone through the certification process for their flower, and that's the flower we use in our pre-rolls, but it's also the flower we're using for like our biomass that we're using for our solventless extraction.
Amazing.
We also had our process certified by OCal, so they've our Oakland headquarters and evaluated the process to ensure that it is organic every step of the way as well. And that's why we're able to be, we were the first and continue to be one of the only OCal certified manufactured products on the market. And trying to
partner is good inputs, Annie.
Yep. And they're an excellent partner for us, to be honest, across the board. Like we partner with them on event activation. We were just up at the California State Fair for 10 days. We have done a couple bud tender appreciation events and parties with them.
You guys have another one coming up, I saw.
We do have another one coming up in August in the Bay Area, where we're actually going to have representatives from ECO and OCal come to talk to bud tenders. To your point, like, yeah, these may not be the they don't necessarily get all this training like on the job. And as brands, it's incumbent upon us to educate them so that they can then educate consumers.
Absolutely. If we want to have impact and it's like crop steering. If we want to steer the bud tenders to talk about issues that go beyond the depths of just THC and indica sativa hybrid, we have to make sure that we take the moments to show and teach them why we care, why it's important, and then also give them the tools of what to say, why, and the theory, the application, and then personalizing it based on their new knowledge, I think is very important. Everybody says, try as much stuff as you can, but do you really understand why it's working for you or why it's not, right? Or how to recommend it for other people? Because that's
the other component
we're doing,
right. And in addition, when you think about like supply chain, so we're talking about like the inputs and Coastal as our cultivation partner. We also have the same degree of that like vetting of our hardware partners. So for instance, like we partner with C-Cell. That's who manufactures the hardware for like our all-in-one mini tank for our 500 cartridges. We've gone through like extensive R&D and extensive testing to really optimize these devices. So this all-in-one, the heat settings, for instance, to give you the best experience and, the smoothest hits and have your oil last till the end without burning. And we're able to do that because of like the level of kind of rigor that we're putting into these decisions. So, we've gotten really great market feedback on this device, and there's tons of all-in-ones on the market. There's tons of oils, right? And so also try to educate bud tenders and work with them as well, getting C-Cell into the mix so that we can be able to talk about what makes the hardware different, the plastics, of high quality, so they're not leaching into your oils. There's been some consumer confusion around that topic, and so it's really important to us that we get as much information out to the market as possible so people can make informed decisions.
This is the California Cannabis Podcast, and halfway through, and we've done a lot of convo here already about products, California, Echo, OCal, Coastal Sun, the California State Fair, all these different things. There's a lot going on here, and this market is a beast in its own. But because I only have you for a little bit longer, I want to make sure that we touch base on the East Coast expansion and also the Colorado market.
Thank you.
Because it is important to understand that Jetty Extracts, which is, again, legacy craft, award-winning, family-owned, operated still, right? And with all of these, I won't say extra, but above and beyond certifications and things, these new levels of standards to help protect us. And I'm here for that as somebody that has kidney stone problems and IBS and Crohn's and just shit that makes me feel sick generally. I sure don't want cannabis also making me sicker or worse or having me die sooner than my kidneys already trying to take me out. You know what I'm saying, Annie? So I think these things are important. I appreciate their commitment to that and bringing somebody like you into the team who can champion that even more to more people and to the right people as well. And so, Annie, let's talk Colorado. How long have they been there? And how do you guys become the number one solventless vape in a legacy market like Colorado, where Wana is there, not a Rosin brand, but Wana, and then you also have the Clear, which is one of the they got to like 14 states at one point. I had them on the show earlier this year. It was a beast. How did you guys get to number one?
Yeah. So I think a couple things. We've been there in Colorado for a couple of years now, for about 2 years. I think it's a combination of factors. Number one is having a fire product and owning our supply chain. So we partner with a company called Lefa in Colorado. They are a retailer, but also a brand, and we operate under their license. And it's we are like Jetty trained solventless extraction technician running our proprietary solventless extraction and vape production process in Colorado. So we're not contract manufacturing, right? Like we're owning our destiny. So that's a piece of it. The partnership with Wana has been really strong. We share we're kind of part of the same parent company of Canopy USA. Jetty is partially owned by Canopy, not fully owned, and we can leverage therefore some of the resources within the WANA organization.
I didn't even know all that. That was I was just talking about WANA because they're the beast.
Oh yeah. No, we're actually
beast
partners
from
with them.
Colorado. Yeah, I had
They
no
don't,
idea.
but they're not our production partner and they're not our sales team, but they've helped us with like opening doors, right? And like just building like awareness of Jetty in that market.
Yeah.
We also had we have a really strong sales leader. He actually was based in Denver, Colorado. He just recently relocated, but he was instrumental. And then I got to shout out a woman on my team, Stephanie, who's our field marketing manager in Colorado. And she's just a beast and has been all over that state, just hitting the pavement, hitting the road to do demos, get out and do PADs and just get like a Jetty out in the field there. Yeah. So I think it's been a combination of those factors and partially a timing thing where there, were this wave of brands in Colorado and many of them, just like in California, failed and went out of business. And so you kind of had this some degree of opportunity for brands to come in that had a good product and had potentially dollars to support from a field and, brand activation standpoint. So, strong product, strong people, and like right place, right time, right product.
Presence, right?
Presence. So that's what we're trying to do and we plan to do in New York as well. We are in the process of standing up our own manufacturing operation in New York. We have already been there through contract manufacturers, but we really, again, do best and have the greatest success when we are in charge of all of our own production. Yeah. So we'll be able to source the strains we want. We'll be able to optimize the process. And in New York, we are partnered with WANA, as well as another partner within this Canopy USA organization, Botanist, which is a brand of acreage. So we have like a shared sales team. But we have just been trying to go really deep in the community. And that's what we're going to plan on doing, with Shelter Project and just like showing up to support BIPOC, owned dispensaries and those that are connected to the culture that came from legacy, and really hiring people who born and raised in New York, know that market and can help us to scale like authentically in a market that, I mentioned earlier, two of our founders were born and raised, and actually our third founder, our CEO, Ron, he's from New Jersey. So we've got like East Coast ties, and I'm from the East Coast originally. So there's a number of us on the team that for personal and professional reasons.
It's important. There's a different level of personal connection there. Okay. So hearing you break down some of these layers of information here, some of the initial questions that I have are about, authenticity, the culture of it, the history of the brand, and then two partnerships with historically, these are MSOs or, pretty well known, hated on entities. Not to say that they're great or perfect, because maybe nobody is, or any, I don't think anybody necessarily is, including myself. Right. So it's like, okay, did you guys get any flack for that? Did anybody care? Or is that just LinkedIn doing its thing and creating some kind of thing that consumers don't even care about, Annie?
I don't think consumers are aware of and care at this point, like who owns these brands at that level, but who does care are retail buyers, store owners, and bud tenders. And so it is a little tricky for Jetty as a legacy brand that is still, like I mentioned, we're not wholly owned as part of Canopy USA, but we're connected to that entity and organization. The optics of like, are you a big MSO or are you, like a homegrown of the culture brand? And we're kind of both, because we still like operate independently. We make our own decisions. We have our own leadership team. And we own our destiny, but we also can leverage some of the resources of this larger organization, for instance, from a supply chain perspective, or shared resources in terms of, like sales coverage. So we're really at the moment strategically trying to figure out like what makes the most sense for Jetty as a consumer brand, as like a B2B brand in the terms of those relationships. But I think what we get to bring to a market like New York, being partnered with someone like WANA, is like Juana has seen everything that's happened in Colorado so closely from the beginning. Jetty has in California. Like, we can actually help retailers in an emerging market like New York with like building their portfolio, with like optimizing inventory. We can look at our learnings and transfer those. And so our goal is to be, not just a supplier, but like a value-added partner to these retailers, and do that through, through content, through, events that we're supporting with them. I just, was chatting with a friend of mine, Susie Placencia, yesterday about Latinas in cannabis and, how Jetty could partner with them in New York to support Latino-owned and Latino-owned dispensaries. So just trying to really make those connections where we can.
Yeah, it's important to collaborate within the different communities, right? New Jersey has a set of events. New York has a community there. New York loves New York. Jersey loves Jersey. They get along and they play nice, but they're competitive. They definitely like their own neighborhood, their own communities, and have respect. And I think that's what's cool is when you guys figure out how to authentically, or maybe you have already. I'm not sure. It'll be told over time, right? But as we get into more and more time there in New York, we're going to end up seeing you guys play along with all these different retailers and bud tenders and these events that are going on. And their events are different from Cali, which is different from Colorado, which is different from Florida, which is different from everywhere, right? All these different places have their own way of doing things, and I think it's dope. Annie, you're a consumer. I've seen you out there smoking and dabbing and vaping away. What are some of your favorite products? Let's personalize this a little bit. You're a woman in cannabis.
Interesting that you asked that. You say that because I was one of the things that got me kind of to jump from my role at Arrow to Jetty was that I am a Jetty consumer. And I was, before working at this company, like, these were the only pre-rolls I would actually pay money for, where they were solventless infused pre-rolls because they smoke so smoothly. And when I'm traveling, especially if I'm going to a market where cannabis is legal, I like to bring my California weed with me. So I always kind of am carrying these pre-rolls. But I am a flower consumer. I dabble in all the other formats of product, getting more comfortable with dabbing now at Jetty. With my own Puffco, but I'm still a flower consumer through and through. And most of what I consume is like craft, sun-grown cannabis that's cultivated by like my friends up in Humboldt or Mendocino. And pretty much the only weed that I like to pay money for is paying directly to those farmers. So when I was just up at the California State Fair, got to see my friend Judy Nelson from Soul Spirit Farms. She's literally my favorite flower in the world is from she and her husband Walter.
Always getting the shout out, man.
I know. It's really like the terps on that are insane. But also as a mom, I have 2 young kids, so I don't consume around them. So I have become a fan of this mini tank just for like the form factor. Well, the oil too, but the form factor is really cute and easy to put in my pocket and be discreet.
I got small hands, right? Can you hold that up and squeeze it? I want to see how much it covers in your hand.
Oh my God, you can't even see it.
Oh yeah, it's gone. It's gone entirely.
Very convenient. It's very convenient. And then got to shout out I'm actually going tonight to a party thrown by Kanha. They've got some really nice new rosin gummies. So when I'm traveling with family where I can't consume around them, I do like to have my rosin infused edibles there. So shout out that to Kana for innovation there and including Jetty tonight in their it's like Bay Area bud tender party. So
let's go. It's gonna be fun for you guys, man. Well, I only got two little things left for us here today, and so while we take a moment, be sure to follow Jetty Extracts on all socials. You guys can just Google Jetty Extracts. They're on everywhere. They're on everything. They've been doing it for a while. Be sure to tap in and follow. Go to the website, subscribe to anything that they got there. And if you guys got like a newsletter, you guys got a good Instagram.
Yep, you can sign up for Instagram at Jetty Extracts, and you can sign up for our email list on our website. We also just dropped some new merch on our merch store. So shout out to that.
You guys always had some cute like beachwear style merch.
Yeah, and like got some fun designs. Our high THC product line has like strain art that's done by Santa Cruz based graphic artist.
Yeah.
And some of that strain art. We're gonna drop in October a new line of infused pre-rolls that are all our classic strains from our high THC line. But alongside that, you can get some fun merch, t-shirts and stuff. And yeah.
That's like, a lot of I talked to a lot of bud tenders in my visits over the years, and since we've been doing these podcasts and going all over the place, I've talked to people again after they've been introduced and watched some of them, and they find that they learn a lot about these brands on these conversations. So Annie, I appreciate your time, your wealth of knowledge here, your experience, and I hope everything going forward is going to be nothing but success for you guys there at Jetty, you as well. So my last question for you is, what do you guys have coming up in the next? Well, it's August next month, and then we get into September and our fall. So what do you guys got? How are you going to end the summer, and how are we going to see you guys kick off the fall?
Yeah, okay. Well, I just alluded to this pre-roll launch we're going to have in October.
Yep. Okay.
And so that's from a product standpoint, stoked about that. To support our expansion in New York, our team's going to be out in there for Revelry and Hollow Flowers, New York. So
nice.
I'll be out in New York a few times. We're expanding our team. We're growing. We're hiring. My team's hiring a field marketing manager in New York to support that business. And
amazing.
Another thing just to note is in the doomsday that oftentimes is the legal cannabis, media news, how the industry is doing. There is growth. There are these bright spots, and Jetty's on a pretty steep upward trajectory right now. We're doing really well sales wise. Every month since I've been here, the last 5 months has been the company's best sales month ever in California. So there is opportunity in legal weed. This is the moment in time to take advantage of that. And thanks for having us.
No worries. Thank you again, Annie, for joining us here today. Everybody, this was another episode of the California Cannabis Podcast, brought to you guys today by Extract Consultants, our partners in all things terpenes, formulation, R&D, all that good stuff that makes things taste good in terms of gummies, vapes, pre-rolls, that kind of stuff. So we appreciate them and their support of our show. I'm Joey J. Ping. This is Annie Starr Davis in the building, SVP of Jetty Extracts. Make sure you guys tap in and stay tuned for more episodes. I love you guys. Peace.